Is that better?
Yes.
Good. Cool. So hello everybody. Cheers for coming today. My name's John, and I'm part of the Erms and Worth project, Earth and Worms project, which has been going for just 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 under a year. It should be around about a year in the middle of the month. And we have a committee that's surrounded about it, and with that committee over this year, we've developed our main goals, which are to supply people in need with food, and also to create a safe space where people from all backgrounds can socialize and also exercise as well. Um, Importantly, as well, which is why we're here today, is to focus on environmentally friendly techniques as well. So we just decided these three main goals of where we are at the moment as an organization. And then to incorporate all of this, we then have the slogan that everybody has space to grow. Um, So I thought today it'd be good. Although I haven't done a presentation after seeing Alan's, I thought maybe it would have been a good idea. So you have a lot of lovely photographs there. But today I just thought I'd talk about challenges that we faced for anybody that's wanting to start up a community space within the Northeast. Um, so first, the challenges that I faced mainly was if you could maybe picture the scene. I'd just been furloughed. I've had this idea in my head for a community garden space for a long time. Um, I wasn't feeling the best when the first lockdown came in, so I was kind of trying to like process these ideas and see how we could go about making them happen. I'd spoken to a couple of folk at the council, got a bit of positivity, but nothing too in depth because we weren't at that level yet. Um, and then for some reason, whatever reason, I decided to phone the main guy at the National Lottery about a really substantial funding. Um, and basically over the phone, he just completely knocked me down in a really beautiful way. Like he put it in such a good way, but he was basically like, "Why the hell would I give you this amount of money to just go and do a project that's in your head that you've only spoke to a couple of people about? I don't know who you are. You don't even have a bank account for this space. You don't have permission for the land." So that was quite a blow, but also in a way he gave me other opportunities, which I'll talk about later. Um, and then also due to COVID, this just then really hindered any sort of like talking to the community. It took a long time to figure out what we were able to do, um, and then through that, a lovely guy at the council, Graham Donald, through Madeline McSween, came through, and he was able to take people that were waiting on a allotment space to come and just have a little look around and see what could be possible with the land. Um, then on the back of that, lots of regulations started to shift. So we were able to have a consultation day, which was absolutely eye-opening to what could happen to the space. Not only did it implement a lot more ideas that we could mull over with the committee, but this also just gave the community the empowerment that they need to say, look, this is what would work here. This is what we want to see, which was grand because before this happened, we just had like an idea of a kind of forest garden, composting area, and veg beds, and that was kind of like where we were at. Um, Other things with COVID was the bank account, which was still waiting to open. We've upset CFine by using their account and going over the agreed amount that we should have used, which is really bad. If anyone's from CFine here today, again, I'm really sorry about that. Um, it's just all changed with how you can open up community accounts as well and trustee accounts. But now, fingers crossed, everything's in place and we'll have that done soon. Um, Volunteers as well. When you're starting off such a project, I mean, the land that we've got is basically it was a disused patch that was misused antisocially, including drug, substance abuse. Um, so we needed a lot of people that were willing to come in to clear the space up to make it safe for people to come in. and to be able to enjoy it. But obviously, with stricter lockdown measures, meant that we had to stop volunteering. Funding was going out to people that had bank accounts that was due immediately for COVID reasons, but we weren't established yet. And also supplies, that was a big issue. So currently, we're still waiting on materials from Aberdeen City Council. They're going to be coming, but we don't know when because they've got issues with vehicles and staffing problems. And then also as well, at the time when I was starting up, I had permission from Derek, who's the head gardener at Seaton Park. And he basically told me, look, we've got a big pile of compost and rotten manure. You can have whatever you can take. I can't use it. It's going to basically go to waste, and we're going to have more coming next year that we're going to use. But because he wasn't able to deliver it, I basically was going about in like a kind of stealth mode with a granny trolley, a load of whips of small trees that had been delivered that we were supposed to do a tree planting day in Seaton Park. And then so I was taking around about 100 small trees, planting them in the park as my daily exercise, and then coming back home with a granny trolley full of compost and rotten horse poo, which you can imagine might have looked very very strange and suspicious to people during a pandemic. But it's all these like small stories and challenges that that make it worth it, because after the challenges you have a lot of rewards. Like with lockdown easing, the soil was then able to be delivered by a tractor load, which like was kind of a relief, but also infuriating thinking about all those small trips I was making to fill veg beds and flowering beds with all this stuff. And then we got so much wood chips delivered, lots of materials from EIS, and then we're still getting things that keep coming. So it's important, if you are planning a green space as well, to use your connections, because they're absolutely like lifelines. You can get so much materials for free if you just ask the right people. And also as well, with the reopening of local businesses, we have got Kilo that have joined up with us, and they supply us with lots and lots of spent coffee grains, and they go on to feed the worms, also to be put as a ratio mix into the compost. So that's really cool. And yeah, basically, going back to the lottery story, one of the really good outcomes from that was that he put us in touch with ACVO, and then from ACVO, we got so much good advice on how to like start up within like the first couple of months, and then that completely opened the floodgates, and networking just started left, right, and centre, and that was like, that's been citywide to national. Like we have phone calls from lots of different people, different groups, always wanting to just call us and ask us advice, or just for a general catch up, and a bit of a positivity comes from that then, because each time you have a kind of slump, um, out of the blue, somebody phones you. Like I had a guy from Huntley phoning me up a couple of days ago, and he was asking me about a community orchard and about pruning some trees and starting up a community interest company, much like Community Juice, which is happening in Aberdeen. So again, I was able to give him contacts, and he gave me contacts. So it's you do get these kind of up and downs, but it's really worth it in the end. Um, and then also like rewards you get from personal stories as well. So you have really bad moments, and then somebody sends you a message. I got a message off a mother who came to the consultation period in October, and she said, this was in December, that for Christmas her little boy just wants seeds to plant in the garden. So that was like, when you realize that you're making a difference as a team, and you've got people that want to be on board and be members of the garden, it's really cool. And also as well, just positive feedback from neighbours. We've had such people saying we got the Christmas light funding from Aberdeen City Council, and it just made people's day to be able to look out the window and see a bit of festive brightness happening in their area. Which, when you hear that someone feels less lonely or less depressed about the current situation we were all in, it's just a really nice feeling, you know. Well, the perks like that I found most rewarding are, like I said, the Christmas lights. Even just for myself, going out there and having a look in the garden, seeing how the garden's developed with volunteers when they have been able to come along. It's a really positive uh, enforcement to keep you going. 'Cause sometimes you can feel like you're not doing much, or things have slowed down, and then all of a sudden you just have these little tiny perks that put you back into the driver's seat. And now funding's allowed for us to erect a polytunnel, which we're going to be doing soon in the next few months. The funding's come through a little bit shy of what we thought it would. So maybe this year we're not going to be able to focus a lot on production, but it still means we can trial and error some things throughout the year and see how things take. And that's also given us lots of tools, supplies, and materials. And then also as well, just to recap on our environmental stances, through networking, we're now helping to develop a central bee highway, and that's through the efforts of working with Aberdeen City Council, Seaton Star Flat and Tilly Flat, and also hopefully a new group that's going to start up in Woodside. And that'll just be selecting lots and lots of areas in which we can plant pollinator-friendly native flowers. That's working with Ian Talboys as well. I'm sure some of you will know him. But he's got some really good advice and ideas as well, if anybody else in the city is willing to take that on as a small project. Our composting as well is basically what we're about. Like, we wouldn't be from worms if we didn't have earth or worms. That would be a bit of a crap name to have. But basically we have a system where we have bays set up, and that can take on lots of fresh peelings, garden waste. We've just been funded to get a garden chipper, which we're going to make lots of use out for prunings and things like that as like the year goes on. And also we're wanting to have a compost toilet in place. At the moment, we don't have any facilities on site. I'm aware that maybe I might sound like the crazy guy in Tillydrone that's asking for everybody's veg and fruit peelings, and now he's asking them to do the business in his garden. But these are all ways that you can really minimize like your footprint. And that's what we're really wanting to do. With the wormery as well, that means we get like free soil conditioner for just putting back into the soil, and also mixing in with our own compost from the bays. And also as well, you can get what they call liquid gold, and that works as like a really good tonic on leaves. So if you're wanting to reduce pests and also fungi, you can spray this diluted onto your leaves. And their wormeries are surprisingly really easy to set up. You can buy them from retail, but we use bathtubs. And we're planning to expand our bathtubs. At the moment, we've got one in place. We've just got a second one that I'm going to set up this week. And then we're hoping to eventually have around about 10 baths full of worms. And these are kind of like, just to mirror what Alan was saying, to bring kids into the garden. Like they go crazy about the worms. I think no matter what we did, if we built one of these net climbing frames or just done like I don't know, like playhouses or anything, they probably just ignore that and go straight in for the worms. They love like digging in and finding what's going on and coming to feed them. So that's really cool. Also, upcycling is key for the success of where we're at today. So anything that's been lying about the streets. Tillydrone unfortunately has a really bad case of fly tipping, but we've been managing to take a lot of this stuff on and upcycle it into veg beds, turning things into climbing frames and stuff for the plants. So it's just about like having a bit of imagination. We've also got a load of tires that we're turning into a tire wall, and that's going to have planted up with wildflower seeds as well on top, just as a screenage. But yeah, minimal weeding is something that we're really keen on in the garden. So just having like species choices within that, so that we can sort of control the communities that grow in the borders, rather than ripping lots of things out. And then that comes into the raised beds and the no dig methods as well. to suppress anything that you're not sure you want in the garden. Other people call them weeds, but we try and say there's no such thing as a weed. And the forest garden as well. The forest garden's been planted up with some nutting. So we've got hazel in there. We do have a chestnut in there as well. And then the rest of them are just native species. And then we're underplanting that with fruit and shrubs and bushes. So that'll be the next step that we'll do. We've already got some gooseberry and raspberry in there, and we're just trying to figure out where we want to plant other bits and pieces, just so it fits in well with the trees that we've put in already. And then we have 3 apple trees in front of that get a lot of the sunlight as well. So it is just about trying to create more space, more habitat that works well with us, because we want to be environmentally friendly. So it's hard to try and find the balance of the place was disused, as I said before, and it was attracting a lot of antisocial behavior. So being able to take away habitat was quite a hard decision, because there was lots of brambles, nettles and things, but we've managed to leave pockets where it'll grow back, and then hopefully we'll find the balance of being able to minimize any sort of antisocial behavior and then encourage people to use the space alongside these habitat niches that we have. But yeah, basically key points to take away for anybody that is wanting to start up a space is, first, don't give up. It's really easy to throw the towel in, because sometimes you just have these moments where it's you wonder what on earth you are doing, you know. It can take up a lot of your time, and you can find a lot of obstacles in the way, but there's always people you can rely on. And that's the next point of use all your favors, all those friends, family, neighbors that you've got, that you've done a favor for. Don't be afraid to say, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Because you'd be surprised how many people turn up. And plan along with nature, because that's a really good way. You can use ecosystem services to really aid the growth of your garden. You can companion plant, you can select out features within the land to aid your planning decisions, and then that's less maintenance for yourself in the future. And also keep connecting. That for me is just like the final point that rings true to everybody. From the community council that's operating in your area, Aberdeen Community Council as well, ACVO, local businesses, and also CFINE, and of course, like, just your community. People in your community is super important, because you haven't got a community garden if you don't have a community. But yeah, that's basically me, and that's basically what we're doing. If you want to come and see what we're doing, it'd be really nice, and you're of course invited to come down. I can give you details after this. And also we're having on Thursday the Potato Day, so our Tatty and Tools Day. And there's a couple of guys from Bonnymore Green coming over to support us as well. So cool, thank you.
And thank you very much.